Michael, who is your top fantasy tight end target right now?
I feel like I'm Kevin Costner because for me in the third round, it is Kyle Pitts no matter what. I mean, this guy last year was the second most receiving yards and the fourth most fantasy points ever by a rookie tight end in NFL history. And him and Cole Beasley were the only players with at least 110 targets and just 1 touchdown. Players with that many targets average 7 touchdowns, and someone with Kyle Pitts' ability and size, I think double digits are a possibility. So a lot more going to come this year, and you're going to want this guy on your fantasy team.
Well, Florio beat me to the homework, Doc, and so he beat me to Kyle Pitts. And if that happens to me in a real draft, I just pivot to Zach Ertz. I love those top 5 guys, but Ertz is the guy that I've got as my number 6 tight end at a much better ADP. You saw what he did last year at the end of the season with the Arizona Cardinals. We know Christian Kirk isn't there. We know DeAndre Hopkins is gone for the first 6 weeks of the season. I expect Kyler Murray to lean very heavily on Zach Ertz. I see him finishing potentially as a top 5 tight end, but you don't have to pay that sort of ADP to get him.
My favorite thing that Marcus ever says is when you talk about the low-hanging fruit tasting just as good. So I'm going to go with that and stick with Travis Kelce. Why? Because we saw Patrick Mahomes now play in 2 separate preseason games, which means they're figuring out their chemistry. Same O-line, another year of experience with Patrick Mahomes. And who is Patrick Mahomes' best friend on the team? Well, I don't know, like personally who, but I'm pretty sure that Travis Kelce is his favorite target and will continue to be his favorite target. And you know Andy Reid has got new plays up his sleeve to make sure that that red area, short area situation, especially in the red zone, is going to work out in Travis Kelce's favor.
Yeah, Cynthia, I will echo the fantasy philosopher Marcus Grant and say that the fruit is available. It's just good, and it's probably ripe. It's fantastic. Mark Andrews gets Lamar back and healthy. We know his usage is going to be high. The workload is going to be high. The quality of the targets as well. Those were all true in part, even when Lamar wasn't there. The difference is this offense is just going to be better this time around. The offensive line has been retooled, and Lamar got Mark a big chain with a dog on it. So it's not just that he has the dog in him. He also has the dog on him. This fantasy season, which is exceedingly important. So we know those guys are good. It's time for the breakout tight end candidates, who we think is going to make this push to be the guys that we're talking about in the previous segment next year. Marcus, who's your breakout guy?
Well, I'm a little less excited about him now than I was, say, on Friday afternoon, but I'm still riding with Albert Okwuegbunam. Albert O to most of us out there. I mean, there was a reason I believe we kept trying to make Will Dissly a thing all those years in Seattle, because Russell Wilson liked targeting his tight ends, especially down near the end zone. He's got a very athletic option now here in Denver with Albert O. And I know that Florio was sort of worried about Cortland Sutton and Jerry Jeudy and the like. The only thing that worries me is the fact that Albert O was playing into the fourth quarter over the weekend in a preseason game, but I still potentially like his athleticism and his role in this offense.
Yeah, I'm with you on him, Marcus. I'm also targeting Cole Kmet as a breakout candidate this year. He was Fields' top target this past week in the preseason game, and he had 31 of Fields' 39 passing yards, which builds off of what we saw last year as he was just more utilized as the season went on. He's in a position to see a lot of volume behind Darnell Mooney, which, I mean, volume alone is enough to make him a tight end 1 worth taking a shot on.
When I look at Dallas Goddard being drafted as the number 6 tight end, I think this could actually be a guy who ends up number 2, number 3 overall. So for me, I think it is a bit of a breakout. It wasn't necessarily one of those situations where you're like, oh, like this guy's totally coming out of nowhere or on a team that's bad. I think the Eagles are going to win the division. I think part of the way that they win the division is by figuring out that tight end connection so that they keep the efficiency of their quarterback so he doesn't have to run for his life. So when I look at this one, Dallas Goddard could be right up there as like number 2, number 3. So that's a breakout to me to get into that elite level.
Yeah, you shift things up, that you have a breakout situation, and that's why I'm looking at Gerald Everett, especially considering what he did towards the end of his season in Seattle, again with Russell Wilson, and now he's got another high-quality marquee quarterback. And I know you're thinking, Patrick, he dropped 3 touchdowns last year. He also had a shot to catch those 3 touchdowns. It's a different offense. It's an opportunity to be tight end 1 ahead of Donald Parham, and he caught a career-high 76% of his targets last year. We remember the drops being bad, but you have to remember the targets as well. So those are our breakout candidates. Now it's time to turn, not negative, we're just saying, hey, beware some of these tight ends. Who are you keeping a side eye on, Cynthia?
I know that right now no one's allowed to dislike the Lions, and I do have like a lot of years of being a Lions fan under my belt, but TJ Hawkinson, that's one who I think buyer beware with this one. He's getting his number 7 overall tight end, ADP. That is way too rich for my blood. I think this is an offense that will have a lot of passes, but I don't think that they're going to necessarily go to the tight end. I think they're going to need to use him more as a blocker. I know that's maybe not something that fantasy managers want to hear, but beware. People are too high on the Lions right now because of Hard Knocks. They're awesome, but not for your fantasy team necessarily.
I always love watching those guys who get the Hard Knocks bump. It happens every single summer, which maybe Hunter Henry could use a little bit of a Hard Knocks bump. I know last year he had the 9 touchdowns, but this is an offense and a passing game in general that I'm just really sour on. There's a slew of wide receivers to go to. I think this is an offense overall that's just going to be middle of the road at best. And for Hunter Henry, we sort of seen who he is. He's a guy who gets you maybe an okay number of catches, kind of a middling number of yards. And if he's not scoring touchdowns at a high rate, then it's going to be really hard to trust him. And I just don't know if he's going to be able to duplicate that 9 touchdown season from a year ago. And so for where he's going off the board, there are a lot of other guys, a lot of other tight ends that I think, hey, maybe Albert O. I'd still rather take a shot at him and hope for the upside than just sort of, kind of a guy who's sort of meh.
And just like Albert O, Marcus, Mike Kassicki was playing deep into the preseason game this past week, but that's not the reason to fade him. Last year, the last couple of years, he's operated like a slot receiver, and now he himself admitted like he's learning how to play the tight end position. I worry that he's going to get regulated to obvious passing situations, and he's going to lose time to a better blocking tight end as Waddle and Hill are going to operate all that time out of the slot. I'm just going to let someone else draft Mike Kassicki, how Adam Rank would call him.
Kassicki. I will take a guy who doesn't have to learn the tight end position in Pat Freiermuth. He's a spectacular tight end, but where are all the targets going to go in this offense? Are we discounting preseason favorite George Pickens? Is it newly re-signed Deontay Johnson? How are Najee's targets going to look? And all of this, again, happening with potentially a rookie quarterback. He's going around the 10, 11, 12 rounds, which means I think the value is good, but sometimes I know there's a lot of Steelers fans out there. He might be creeping up into 8, 9, 10. I just think that there's some options here. Again, just circumstantial surrounding the player. The player is good. The circumstances, not always the best. And that's, again, caveat for beware. Just beware. We're not saying avoid these guys at all costs. Just consider the price, consider the round, and then move forward.